you're constantly tweaking the process, I'm sure, along the way. Like, how much did you tweak the nutrition side of things or the training side of things as you were gunning for that first place win? Was there any of that going on, or was it more so just, hey, it's not my time yet, I'm going to keep everything the exact same, and eventually I think I can do this?
There was definitely some tweaking. I mean, to be honest with you, I get it right, and then what would happen is I get an injury. For instance, there was one show I injured my shoulder going into the competition, but still competed. I got a partial tear in a bicep because I dabbled in powerlifting 6 weeks out from the competition.
6 weeks out, what made you want to start powerlifting?
The competition came up, I felt strong. That was just that era. That was just a little bit of like, that was naive, realizing that, you can be strong, but you're getting in a vulnerable position. I broke a hand going into the 2016 Olympia, the 101. I broke my hand 4 weeks out.
To go back for a second with the deadlifting, did it happen during the deadlift? Were you doing the reverse grip, the switch grip, one hand over, one hand under, that type of grip for the deadlift? Is that how it happened?
It was in a meet. It was a long time in between lifts, and yes, it was the underhand bicep that was exposed. I was pulling near 300 kilos at the time, and I felt something go.
I wonder if you were doing just a traditional both hands overhand, would that have happened? Those things make me wonder, because it's obviously the underhand, you're supinated, you're shortening that bicep, a little elbow bend, and then that's you hear a lot of stories about that switch grip deadlift. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Am I saying that right? Switch grip or reverse grip or flip grip? What's the correct term for that?
I can't remember. It's like, I just had
something.
Like you had your alternating grip. Yeah.
Well, one side is externally rotated and supinated, and the other side is internally rotated and pronated. That's what I understand. So we'll go with that.
There we go.
So, and then basically that one side that's externally rotated and supinated is going to expose or make that arm more vulnerable, right? Like you mentioned. So I wonder if it was just a traditional, both internally rotated and pronated, would that have happened? Obviously, because you hear a lot of stories about that happening during a deadlift, right?
Well, the only thing is, when you're doing a powerlifting competition, you can train to do like both hands over the same way, but obviously the bar has bearings in it, so it wants to roll. And I was doing a sumo deadlift at the time, so I trained for it, I practiced for it, and it was just unfortunate. There was a long time in between lifts. The venue I was competing at was cold. I was no longer warm when I went to do that lift, but it was only a partial tear, so it wasn't like a tear off the bone sort of thing.
Oh,
so
good.
It wasn't like going into that competition. I just sort of trained to a point where I'd done enough work, again, dropped to third place. So basically, to give you feedback, what I learned is that certain lifts, the cost versus reward, you know what I mean? Like, you need the muscle stimulus. Having a big deadlift or a big bench press or a big squat, it doesn't pertain to bodybuilding. It's about, mechanical tension, muscle stimulation. Muscles can't see. You've got to stimulate muscle. Who cares what you can bench or deadlift when it comes to competing on a stage? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And you're not the first with that wisdom, bringing that wisdom to the podcast. Usually the guys above 40, above 50 that are talking like this when they've made the mistakes, right? And there's been lessons learned along the way. But as far as what you're doing now with that, are you still implementing deadlifts, but doing it in a different way, a safer way? Or are these exercises like the squat, the barbell squat, the barbell deadlift, the barbell bench press? Like, let's take those powerlifting movements for a second that bodybuilders feel that they have their place and they're beneficial. Do you do those, or do you feel like, I'm staying away from that?
The truth is, no, I don't use them that much.
Okay.
I don't deadlift.
You don't deadlift. When was the last time you deadlifted?
Oh, I remember. Like, if it would have been light. If I'm doing a deadlift, I'm doing a variation. Like, I'm doing Romanian deadlifts.
Okay.
I do a lot of glute ham raises. I'll use those exercises predominantly to work my posterior chain. So glute ham raises, RDLs, or Romanian deadlifts, partial deadlifts sometimes in the rack. But full deadlifts, I'm not really doing much of at all. I mean, and if I do, it's sort of like, it's controlled and it's light. I'll slow the tempo down just to eliminate the momentum.
And I'm assuming you're doing the both hands or overhand at this point, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I've got like Versa grips on. I'm gripped on the bar and I'm focused on the muscle I'm trying to target. So
yeah, that's good.
Absolutely.
For the listeners tuning in who maybe they're getting ready for a show and they're trying to keep their heavy deadlifts in that they were doing in the off season. These are things that maybe you want to consider, think about, because what's the risk versus reward, like you mentioned, and what's the goal? Like, is your goal a powerlifting competition, or is it bodybuilding? You're dieting, you're lean, you got to make smart decisions, right? So what you're mentioning here is very valuable, I think, for anybody listening who, maybe they're questioning their decisions right now in a positive way, So you're also a trainer too, you mentioned, right? So these are...
That's right. The movements that I'm teaching clients. So for instance, like I'm looking at, I'll use heavier weight against muscle to get motor neuron activation, which basically what that means is that if you're lifting a heavy weight in a level where you're lifting it on the spectrum where it's low reps, you're stimulating your nervous system to switch on fast twitch muscle fiber. So by doing that, you're setting yourself up to fire more fast twitch muscle fiber. But you don't necessarily need to be doing that with a specific lift. As long as the muscle's exposed to heavy weight, it will start using those motor neurons to fire fast twitch muscle fiber. And then the bulk of our bodybuilding is hypertrophy. So we're targeting tissue. So we're targeting the damage of tissue on a microscopic scale. So we're doing that through mechanical tension or time under tension, where weights are moved in a controlled fashion with plenty of intensity and stimulation, but there's no specific lift. There's no specific movement that is set in stone that says you must do that lift or you won't get legs. You must do that lift or you won't get a chest. I mean, there's so much technology out there now in a gym and so much information out there that you can research to use to work a muscle. It's all out there. You just have to intelligently negotiate that and find it.
Let's talk about the training leading up to the Natural Mr. Olympia win that you just had. So talk about what that looked like in terms of the training split, the volume, the frequency. How do you like to do things? Are you in the gym 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 6 times a week? What does that look like for you?
Like this time it was done very differently.